Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is. I guess I was about to reveal my name. Doesn't matter anyway. Uh, Welcome back to an episode of Ball Talk. I'm here to discuss just what's been going on in the NBA recently, how it's prescribed, how it's gone forward, how it's improved, and what I've missed over the last couple of weeks. Honestly, going to slightly over a month, which is a bit behind my targeted schedule, but school got a bit hectic as well as my final exams coming into play. So I just had to make do and pick my poison. Ultimately, I'm not a full time content creator, so I'm not gonna risk my degree when I know I'm not fully prepared for an exam or fully prepared for the end of the semester. But yeah. Going in, it's just like I think the last time I made a video, I was talking about how the NBA landscape was changing at such a high level, and I think it has kind of solidified and cemented itself into what it is now, at least what the season transpires at right now. So, like, when you look at even the standings, you can tell that teams have kind of settled into what they were going to be all season. I don't think the Pistons are particularly better than a healthy Boston team, but the Pistons are the first seed, 60-win team. This is coming off the back of Cade's saying we're not a 22 loss team. We're not the worst team in the NBA. Bad. Like, just when you see stuff like this, you see the growth of not just a player, but a team and organization. Doesn't matter how you might feel about individual players on that team. This is still a great accomplishment for Cade. I know ring culture in and of itself is not the best way to describe victory or success. Like, that's what Giannis says. You have to acknowledge progress. Like, we know the ultimate goal is to one day be an NBA champion, but you have to acknowledge the steps you need to take to get there. Cade back now, he was injured for a while, so he was not eligible for any of the awards anyway. And then now they're 60-22, they're matching up against the Magic. Speaking of the Magic, just have to say, I'm not the biggest fan of their style of hoops anyway, especially regular season wise. The playoffs, it's a different story where you kind of see this was probably one of Paulo's best games, if I'm being honest. You rarely see, in my eyes, I rarely see Paulo look comfortable. My biggest issue with Orlando is at times, more often than I would like anyway, they make basketball look hard. Like, it's one thing when obviously we know playing at the highest level against the best teams consistently is gonna be difficult. But players like SGA, it makes it look easy to get to the spot, even get to the line. It doesn't look like he's struggling to do this. He does this regularly. Obviously, he embellishes sometimes, but like he does that. And then look at Steph. Everything he does seems effortless. Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, LeBron James. Like, these are things that you watch and you're like, this is not easy to do. And it makes it just as like even more impressive that you can do these things and make it look easy. That's something that pleases me to watch aesthetically anyway. Obviously, you might not like every style of play you see, but results matter, and the result was they're gonna give the Pistons a run for their money. So it's like the Pistons would have to compete and give Cade probably let Cade play out of a minutes restriction, maybe 35 plus minutes a night minimum to get wins consistently over this 8 seed, which is not a good sign. But if you go down to Celtics and the Sixers, I think like that's a whole different kind of story where obviously I think if everyone on the 76ers team is firing, they could probably force some kind of difficult game, but like they don't even have Embiid playing consistently. He's gonna play consistently in this series if he plays at all. And you had 21 from Tyrese. Obviously a pretty bad game from VJ, but you still had Paul George and everyone else. Like, this was a 32-point blowout, and you still have the expectation that at least the 76ers should be able to make this a close game. But that would require the players going out of their way to perform like out of body. Like when you look at the Celtics team, right? This was another okay Tatum game. I wouldn't say it's like super great, where he had 25, missed 8 shots. My issue as with Tatum has always been, I know he's a capable shooter. I know he can score when he wants to, especially when he's guarded by someone that's not on his size level, right? But he is 9 for 17 tonight. Why is he 9 for 17? He's 1 for 7 on threes. Take those 6 shots away. Now he missed 2 non threes this night, right? How is this not your go-to consistently? I can understand post-injury, but pre-injury it's the same thing. They lose some games because Tatum just doesn't want to stop shooting the three. I believe Tatum can be a LeBron James type player. Obviously, attacking the basket and scoring, I don't think he's a LeBron James level facilitator, but he's still capable of making good reads and making good decisions whenever he's ready to do so. I just think sometimes you do not have to empty the clip just to win games. Like Brown had went 11 for 21. Obviously, he took 2 threes, so he didn't miss a single one. But like Tatum shoots the most threes on this team outside of Peyton Pritchard. That's like off the top of my head. I think that is the average whenever they're all playing together. Again, maybe my numbers are wrong, but still, that's what we see every day and what we've come to understand from the Celtics. And then you have the Knicks, you have the Cavaliers, you have the Raptors. The Knicks game and was a pretty funny one, especially because CJ had 30 points. Fuck you, CJ chance, and like this is this is what you come to love. Like I just love basketball. I don't know what it is, but when you just get into a sport, because I watch a lot of sports, I watch a lot of shows, I watch a lot of documentaries, just media narratives, everything just aligning when it comes to competition is just an amazing fact or an amazing feeling when you watch good basketball, when you see good basketball being played. Funny enough, in the Cavaliers versus Raptors game, there was this moment where James Harden has probably one of the most defiantly obvious push-ups of all time, and they just don't call it. And now it's quote unquote ankle breaker for Scotty Barnes or whatever. And I would be fuming if that happened to me, but it is what it is. And then yeah, back to the Hawks game. I think this is gonna be a very fun series, reminiscent of obviously the Knicks Hawks when Trey Young was there. And props to Kaminga and CJ and the rest of the Hawks roster, like players like Onyeka Okongwu, uh, Jalen Johnson, and Dyson Daniels. Obviously, some of which didn't have their best games previously in game one. I still think they went pretty well. And I think what people need to understand, just on the topic of Kaminga and the Hawks team, people try to portray Steve Kerr as a bad coach or whatever. And I don't see how that's the case when Kaminga's best basketball up until this point has been played for Steve Kerr in Steve Kerr's system, despite Kaminga's inability to make the decisions Steve wants him to make or make the reads or play how Steve wants him to play. He still was able to give you the best of Kaminga. And I think that is very underappreciated when we talk about how well Steve Kerr ran things in Golden State and in player, not development. I'd say I don't think he's the developer of any player. I don't think he's done that for anyone outside of Clay, Draymond, and Steph. If you're gonna say Steph post 2014 was not at his peak yet, so Kerr helped, but he can definitely provide the best for you. I think the Timberwolves series was when he basically helped Kaminga to be Kaminga. Obviously, it's not the winningest of winning basketball. It's still basketball that plays well and gets the best out of the players you want to get the best out of. But again, that's just my opinion. I don't know if everyone feels that way. But yeah, good series to watch. And then if we talk about the West, I think when the Warriors lost to the Suns, I was pretty confident like OKC was gonna beat the Suns. I haven't really thought the Suns were like this super team, and at the same time, I don't think like the Warriors are a super team. I think they're. And obviously, we all know they're not a super team. I mean, they're not a good team. Like they won 37 games this season. Like they had to fight to get to where they are. Obviously, they did not have Steph or whatever, but Steph is Steph. Steph is 38 years old on one knee. One of the other one is fried. So like health is always going to be an issue, which does infuriate me when I see like stuff come out to try and say Steph doesn't make the playoffs. Like half of the time he's not been in the playoffs, he's not been injured or had a significant difficulty to his season. 2020, 2021, even this year, like or the years where he started his career as a rookie with improperly functioning ankles, like it's stuff like this you just gotta take in context, right? But that's just how I see it. And then you have the Thunder gonna beat the Suns, I think, and then Spurs. Man, I've been telling you guys about Wet Banana, bro. Wembanyama. This is GOAT trajectory, I think. He's walking away as the youngest and only unanimous Defensive Player of the Year winner, finalist for the MVP. You never know he wins the MVP, the youngest MVP in NBA history. I think it's SGA or Wemby for me. Like I've always acknowledged the greatness of Jokic, but I don't think I give it enough respect, and I think that's a fault of my own bias. But I still have those three seem to be the best finalists anyway. Unfortunate that Luca is never going to get the respect that he deserves, but hopefully he does get some. He does find joy and satisfaction in the accomplishments he is going to receive, like NBA first team accolades, which he has been receiving for as long as I can remember. And then obviously you have the Rockets and the Curries. That's going to be a great series as well. I think the Lakers do edge it out once they get enough players back. And even if they don't, I don't think the Rockets are a particularly good team. I think a team that has to rely on Şengün in the clutch is not going to beat a competent team, even if they sneak past the Lakers. The Nuggets Timberwolves, I think, is the best series going on right now. I think that series is like, what are you watching when you watch this happen? This is the level of basketball we have to get to. Again, what I believe the NBA should do going forward to reduce injuries, this is going into next season, is drop, keep it 82 games, but it shouldn't take this same amount of time. Make it take longer. The longer you spread the games out, the less likely players are going to have to exert themselves and going to have to like play games hurt. You would not have any need for back-to-back games. Even if the closest game should ever be would be two game, rest, game. There should be at least a day in between however many games you want to slice and dice or whatever. But yeah, that's what I see from the upcoming playoff schedule. In terms of stuff are happening around the NBA, obviously you have Steve Kerr is gonna, I think he's gonna leave the Warriors. I don't know. And then the NBA draft, right? You have players like AJ the Bouncer, Cameron Boozer, Caleb Wilson. These are players that I think this draft class is gonna be the best draft class in the last pre Wemby, like post Wemby. This is the best draft class, I think. So we're gonna see how it's gonna turn out. And yeah, going on, switching gears to the WNBA. The WNBA season is almost back on. Obviously, our number one pick, Azzy Flood. I do believe she receives a lot of criticism, and I have been one to criticize her in the past for not being able to create her own looks and work in isolation. I think it's going to be a difficult transition, but she has recovered from career-ending injuries, not just altering. And she's where she is today as a number one pick in the WNBA. Obviously, she gets to play alongside someone who is important to her in Paige, so hopefully that brings out the best in both those players. Obviously, where I stand right now in the WNBA is I'm a fan of the Minnesota Lynx. I stand with Nafisa Collier, and I respect everything she's done for the women's game and for women in general, pushing the game forward and advocating for equal rights and improving the pay for these women and these workers that are giving their bodies to this corporation that is basketball and basketball entertainment. And then I would prefer to be a fan of the Wings, but I can't keep supporting teams that are not doing that good and waiting on. But I will keep supporting them, and I am happy with the decisions that have been made. I think one issue I do have with the women's basketball system is the gaps between at the point in which the NBA, the guys who won the men's NCAA title, Michigan, I believe, would get to play their first WNBA game. The WNBA, the women's basketball section would already be in the WNBA playoffs. Like You cannot risk people's careers with this little space. I understand there are less teams in the NBA, but still, give these players times to train, adjust, and get better and get up to speed with the level they're gonna play at consistently. But anyway, those are just my takes. Those are my opinions. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day and God bless.